Hi, we've moved in the kitchen and I quickly made up a batch of salsa that I chopped by hand. So in my bowl I have tomatoes, chili peppers, onions, garlic, a couple squeezes of lime, and a little bit of salt and a little bit of cilantro. And I really prefer a hand-cut salsa like this because it has texture. You can see you're going to get bites of tomato, bites of onion, bites of garlic. However, when I have as many tomatoes as I have out there on the porch and as many chilies, and I want to accomplish my salsa in a quicker manner, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it in my Cuisinart. But first I have to have a bite of this. This is truly a fiesta in a bowl right here. Isn't it gorgeous? I'll tell you what, it's really hot. And the reason it's hot, besides having serranos and jalapenos, I added a habanero. And that's what I have chopped up in here. I have serrano, habanero, jalapeno, and a little bit of this Hungarian hot pepper. And so I rough chop them so that I can chop them quicker in the Cuisinart. And you're going to put your hard vegetables in here first. So we have our rough cut onion, or quartered or so, and we have the chopped up chili peppers, and I left about half the seeds in and took about half of them out. Whew, that habanero's hot. And then I have my garlic that's peeled but whole, and so I'm going to just pulse this. And I'm going to pulse this before I add the tomatoes because the tomatoes are soft and they'll squish up quicker. So we want to just chop these coarsely. And that's about how long it takes. And we'll scrape the sides down so that we have all the little bits down in there. And then we're going to add our tomatoes. And what I've done to my tomatoes here is I have cut them into quarters or eighths depending upon the size, and you can see I'm using all colors, makes for a really pretty salsa. And sometimes I use green tomatoes in here or tomatillos, which are also wonderful. They're tart. And what I've done, the reason these tomatoes look a little bit mangled is I've taken them and I squeezed a little bit of the juice out. When you hand chop a salsa like this, you've got nice little pieces and it doesn't juice out. But when you do it in the food processor, you can have way too much juice. So I tend to take a little bit of it out so it's not too watery. You can always strain it off if you need to. Alright, so right now we're going to put our tomatoes in and give it a pulse. Pulse it so that we don't puree the bottom and leave the top coarse. Alright, now we're almost there, so I'm going to add my cilantro, and at this point I'm going to put in just a little bit of salt. You know, when you have things like hot peppers and garlic and herbs, you use much less salt. And besides that, we're probably going to eat this with chips. And then what I'm going to do, I always add a little bit of lime. And it's going to totally depend on how tart your tomatoes are. If you're using tomatillos, you wouldn't maybe use as much lime, or how sweet your tomatoes are, how much you're going to add. But I have a big half of a lime here, which I'm adding, which is usually about enough. Sometimes you need to add a whole lime or even a little bit more depending upon how full your processor is. Alright, I'm just going to stir this in. And remember, we don't want to make a fine puree. We want to have little bits of salsa here. And so I'm going to pour this into my serving bowl. And as you can see, it's more pureed than the hand-chopped one, and it's a little bit more liquidy, and also it has just a little bit of foam from processing it. However, once this sits, that foam will disappear. And I'm going to put these two salsas together so you can see the comparison. This is the one that we did in the processor, and you can see it's a lot more pureed, and it has a lot more liquid to it because the tomatoes give off the liquid when it's being chopped up. And it's a little tiny bit foamy, but the foam disappears after a little while. It's just because of the puree action in the Cuisinart. And then this one has much more texture to it. and actually it has more color because it's not pureed. So anyway, I think that you should be able to do this and make salsa. If you want to put this salsa up, all you have to do is take this and pack it into hot sterilized canning jars and process pints for 15 minutes and quarts for 25 minutes. And then you'll have salsa for the winter time. As they say in the Southwest, buen provecho y salud.